We've decided to share the ocean with Iran. We've given them the bottom half. We've damaged or sunk over 120 of their Navy ships, with battle damage assessments pending for many more. Their surface fleet is no longer a factor. Their submarines, they once had 11, are gone. Their military ports are crippled. We continue to hunt and kill mine storage facilities and naval ammunition depots. We continue to hunt and kill afloat assets, including more than 120 vessels and 44 mine layers, and the pressure will continue to destroy the entire Iranian naval fleet. The U.S. Navy committed 2 carrier strike groups already positioned in the region. The USS Abraham Lincoln, with its escort destroyers, was operating in the Arabian Sea, and the USS Gerald R. was stationed in the Red Sea. These were the most advantageous positions for a simultaneous strike on the Iranian fleet from 2 directions, and the Tomahawk cruise missiles aboard the escort ships could reach any point where Iranian vessels were operating. Both carrier groups were brought to full combat readiness. Each carrier air wing carried approximately 44 Fa-18 Super Hornets, the backbone of U.S. carrier aviation and the primary aircraft that would execute the strikes against enemy ships and destroy Iranian ammunition depots while also intercepting Shahed drones launched in defense. That meant roughly 88 Super Hornets across both carriers, plus additional F-35C Lightning IIs. On both carriers, the fighters were brought up to the flight deck and positioned for launch. The catapults fired and the fighters launched off the bow one after another, climbing hard and banking toward their assigned targets. The launches came in rapid succession, one jet off the deck, the next already rolling into position. In the air, a pilot identified an Iranian warship on the horizon through the targeting pod. He locked on, selected the weapon, and fired. The missile struck the ship. The pilot did not circle back to observe. He was already heading to the next target, another Iranian destroyer at a different set of coordinates. The mission was to work through the entire target list as fast as possible, hitting one vessel after another before the Iranians could disperse or take cover in port. On the escort destroyers, the order came through to the bridge to engage with Tomahawk cruise missiles. The command was acknowledged and passed to the weapons team. Within seconds, the vertical launch cell hatches opened and missiles began firing. One after another, Tomahawks erupted from the cells in bursts of flame and smoke, arcing skyward before leveling off and racing toward Iranian naval vessels and shore-based targets. Each missile was programmed with the precise coordinates of its target. The barrage continued until the fire mission was complete. Below deck on the carriers, mechanics were already working on the fighters that had returned from their first sorties. Aircraft were brought down to the hangar level on the elevators. Maintenance teams swarmed each jet. Landing gear struts were inspected and lubricated. The missile rail mechanisms and bomb release assemblies were greased and tested to make sure they would function cleanly on the next sortie. Hydraulic lines were checked. Engine panels were opened for quick inspections. Anything flagged by the pilot during the mission, a warning light, a sluggish control response, and avionics glitch, was diagnosed and repaired on the spot. On the flight deck, the arresting gear crew prepared for the next round of landings. They inspected the steel cables stretched across the deck, the wires that catch the tail hook of an incoming fighter and bring it to a stop in less than 300 FT. Fighters returning from combat approached the carrier from astern, dropped their tail hooks, and came in on the glide slope guided by the optical landing system. In the bridge, the air traffic control team logged every landing, exact time of arrival, pilot. Name, aircraft number, weapons expended, fuel remaining, any maintenance issues reported in flight. Every detail was recorded for the next planning cycle. On the aft section of the flight deck, Sikorsky MH-60R Seahawk helicopters were being prepared for resupply missions. A logistics ship had arrived nearby, loaded with provisions for the crew and ordnance for the aircraft. The Seahawks would shuttle everything between the supply vessel and the carrier. Crates of food, drinking water, medical supplies, spare parts, and boxes of ammunition were rigged with cargo nets and slung beneath the helicopters. The Seahawks lifted off, flew the short distance to the supply ship, picked up the loads, and fired them back to the carrier and the escort destroyers operating in the formation. The resupply runs continued in rotation, one helicopter outbound, another inbound, keeping the flow of material constant so every ship in the strike group could sustain operations without slowing down. Heat. Heat. The cycle on the carrier never stopped. On the bow, catapults launched fighters into the sky. On the stern, returning jets caught the wire and rolled to a halt. Below deck, mechanics turned aircraft around as fast as humanly possible. On the flight deck, weapons crews loaded fresh ordnance. In the hangar, elevators moved jets up and down between levels. And in the air, Fa-18 Super Hornets formed up in groups, flew together toward Iran, and then split apart as they neared the coast. Each pilot breaking off to his own assigned target, executing his strike, and turning back for the carrier to rearm and go again. The operation ran day and night, sortie after sortie, until the Iranian fleet ceased to exist as a fighting force.